In Pirkei Avos chapter 5, Pirkei Avos Ethics of the Fathers. 10 things were created at the eve of Shabbos twilight. The opening of the earth to swallow Korach. So, one thing I just want to say is that Erev Shabbos is the eve of the Sabbath. It's on Friday afternoon now, but in the 6 days of creation, this is the original, it was on the 6th day, before the 7th day. At the twilight means the between space. It's a very mystical kind of time. Mythical, I meant mystical, secret kind of, where things are not quite this or that, but neither not this nor that, like in that special place. And that's a special liminal space. So these are the things that were made because they are things that exist, and they're not this nor that. They're not, they defy what we normally understand. They had to be created originally. If we look at creation, we see the tree has the nut, has the tree, has the... Now the nut comes from the fruit. Like the fruit is just the shelter for the nut. It's like a way that the animal, ooh, yum, and then poops it out somewhere else, and then it continues the tree cycle. But adult baby has a baby, the baby becomes adult, has a baby, and so on. So the self-perpetuating cycle, which is like the wisdom of nature, and we could like receive it. That's what calls mikabel in Hebrew, Kabbalah, to receive this wisdom of nature on many levels, on this creation, this level of what is already there. I mean, we need cities, but clearly we need plants, and they grow between the cracks. And not only that, but if we really think about, we live in a box, so the fridge is a box, and the stove is a box, and the table's a box, and the chair is like shaped like almost like a box, and the bed is a box, and the window is a box, and the door is a box, and the building is a box, right? So when we go in nature, everything's its own shape. It could have its own self, and then it could like be able to be according to its real nature, instead of fitting in a box. So even a map is a box, even though we say, well, it's actually a round earth. So I just say that because I have a map right here. I've been looking at it a lot recently. So I just felt I needed a map, and now I understand. It's interesting to see the way the continents can sort of align, and that we have 5 oceans, but they're all connected. I'm just learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about how I think, about how people in our society think by just looking at the map, and how certain places are divided in half. It seems like there's one big country, and it's called, there's many islands, it's called Indonesia, and then half of one is called, where they have Papua New Guinea. They have Guinea. And then I look over by the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It looks like they're on the same thing, but they're separated. So I'm really learning about things. My point is that when we're talking about the 10 things that were created at that time, these are things that are above or supersede. It's not like above, like on a hierarchy. It's like outside of the creation patterns. So one is the opening of the earth to swallow Korach. There is a portion of the Torah called Korach. This is when there was a rebellion against Moses by somebody who God did not say that this person should be a leader, but he wanted to be a leader. It's a more interesting story. You could research it. I probably do talk about it somewhere along the lines. So anyway, that is the opening of the earth to swallow Korach. The mouth of the well in the wilderness. This is according to the Torah. Remember, Pirkei Avos Ethics of the Fathers is Jewish tradition. So the mouth of the well in the wilderness, which gave water, and it traveled with them. It was a portable well. The mouth of the donkey of Bilam. This one was just the last parsha. It spoke, the donkey. The rainbow. The manna. The staff of Moses. The shamir worm, which could break stone apart instead of like... It split stones for Moses for the 12 tribes on the Chosh and Mishpat and on the top, which had engravings, and also in the temple. The writing of the second tablets, the inscription of the first tablets. What's interesting about those is that, let's say you have let's say this is the tablet. If you have a letter floating in here, it would have to be connected, like a stencil always has a little line connecting the letter. These letters just sort of hovered in space. They were not connected to anything, like a magnetic sort of field. And then also the tablets. Now, some say a few additional things. Some say there was also the burial place of Moses. Some say it was the ram of our father Abraham, so that he didn't kill his son. He sacrificed the ram instead. That God sent the ram, and then some say the spirits of destruction, as well as the original tongues, because tongues, tongs, can only be made with tongues, like how to lift out the original tongues, so that you don't touch the heat. You need to have something. Everything gets hot. You touch it with this, you touch it with that, it would transfer the heat. So you need tongues. Okay. Now these are 7 things that characterize a stupid person and a wise one. A wise man doesn't, or woman, doesn't speak before one who's greater than he in wisdom or years. He doesn't rush to answer. He asks what is relevant to the subject and replies to the point. He speaks of first things first, last things last. Concerning which he hasn't heard, he says, I've not heard. He acknowledges the truth. And the reverse of these things is a stupid person. So a stupid person will speak before one who's greater than him in wisdom or years, rushes to answer, doesn't ask what's relevant to the subject, doesn't reply to the point, speaks of first things last and last things first. What he hasn't heard, he doesn't say I don't hear, and he doesn't acknowledge the truth. There's 4 characteristic types of men. There's someone called the ignoramus, which is what's mine is who says what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. So mine is yours and yours is mine. Then there's the what they call the median, but it's actually like the sodomites. It's what's mine, it's mine, and what's yours is yours. And then there's the chassid, the pious, the benevolent one, who says what's mine is yours, what's yours it's yours. The wicked one says what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. Then there's 4 temperaments. One is someone who's easily angry and easily pacified. This loss of being easily angered is outweighed because he's also the merit of easily pacified is weighed out by that. Then you have someone who's hard to be angry but also hard to calm them down, pacify. This merit is kind of weighed out by the loss. So someone who's hard to anger and easy to pacify, this we would call is like the chassid, the righteous, pious one, the benevolent one. Then we have someone who's easily angered and hard to pacify. This is a wicked person. There's 4 students. Someone who's quick to grasp and quick to forget. He learns quickly, but he forgets everything. The advantage is canceled by his disadvantage. There's someone who's hard to grasp and hard to forget. His disadvantage is canceled by his advantage. There's someone who, so that's someone, it's very hard for him to learn, but once he knows it, he knows it. So then there's someone who understands quickly, who learns quickly and doesn't forget. Good memory. This is a good portion. And someone who it's hard for them to remember, and once it's hard for them to learn, and once they learn, it's then easy for them to forget. They don't keep it. That's a bad portion. Now, when we talk about the disciples of our father Abraham that possess a good eye, a humble spirit, and a meek soul, and the disciples of the wicked Bilam is evil eye, arrogant spirit, and a greedy soul. Abraham's disciples eat in this world and inherit the world to come. Bilam's disciples inherit Gehenna and descend into the nethermost pit. There's 7 types of punishments, transgressions. One is some tithe and some don't. The punishment is famine and could be like a war, panic ensues, and some suffer hunger and some have plenty. If tithing is giving 1/10 of your earnings. You could give up to a 5th. I say up to a 5th because if let's say you have 10 pieces, let's say you have $100 and you divide it in 10. Each piece is $10. You have to give $10 away. That's part of our rules. We just have to. There's some, if someone's very poor or that money literally is putting food on the table, it's different. There's a lot of ideas about who you should give it to. You shouldn't just give it to your neighbor or your sister, your brother. You don't just have to give it away. You have to give it to someone who needs it, to the poor, or to someone who's struggling because they learn Torah and then they could teach Torah and they're like, they're holding space for everyone by being a Torah scholar. So you have to give that tithe. Now let's say you want to give up to a 5th. What does that mean? That means you have $100, you divide it in 5, it's actually $20 each piece, 100 divided by 5. So when they say 10th up to a 5th means a 5th is more than a 10th. If all do not tithe, then there's a famine, a drought, it ensues. If they do not separate the challah is like a tithe of the bread. The rabbis made a specific amount, but really it was just always established. You have to give the first of your dough or from your bread. So then there comes a famine of destruction. It's from the dough, the challah. If the Beis Din, the house of judgment, the judges are not empowered to carry out death penalties. Now this sounds scary, right? Because we don't want death penalties. But if they are not allowed, like people say, like, you'll have no way to punish me, I'll do whatever I want, I could do this or that, and usually it would be there would be order because people are afraid of the death penalty. In this case, because they can't even enforce, they don't want to kill anyone. They're people, but they're given the power to be a judge. And they say this person had an animal that killed so many people and they refused to fence up the animal. They're liable for death. If that's not there, then the person has no reason to not continue, having the animal do whatever it wants and killing people, God forbid. So for that reason, and for if the fruits of the Shemitah are forbiddenly used, what does that mean? That means in the 7th year, you're not allowed to be a farmer. You have to leave the land for itself. Now, it only could be God that says that, because the fact that the people could always have more than enough for the 7th year, and that they could get imports and everything, but that land in Israel cannot be used. So if people break that, then there's a pestilence. So that was number 3. No, that was number 4. Number 5, if there's a perversion or a delay of justice in the rendering the Torah decision, which doesn't get to be according to halacha, the way that they understand what it means, there's war, or it's called a sword. Swearing falsely or profaning the divine name brings wild beasts. Idolatry, incest, and murder, or not letting the earth rest in the Shemitah, could be exile. So I want to go back and say the fruits of the Shemitah, forbidden use, means you can't even benefit from it. You can't sell it. You have to leave it. Anyone could use it. And then not letting the Shemitah rest is even greater category. It means like working the land, sowing the land, tilling the land. Like really, it's not a lot of rest. But the land is supposed to get a year off every 7 years. Kind of like its day off, its year off. I wish you all the best. Have a good night, a good day. Bye-bye.